Hello YouTube. The 2007 Nobel Peace Prize was shared between Albert Gore and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. In its composition, Ray Kwon Chung received his share and is considered a Nobel Prize winner. The award was given for the efforts to accumulate and disseminate information about climate change due to human activity and to create the foundations for measures necessary to counteract them. More recently, speaking about the problem of climate warming, scientists and the media focused on the fact that as a result of this pernicious process, the level of the world's oceans will rise, which will lead to floods and flooding of part of land. Nowadays, another dangerous consequences of the active melting of permafrost in Siberia and the Arctic has become obvious. The release of dangerous ancient viruses from a 1,000-year-old ice captivity that can cause irreparable damage to humanity and all living things on the planet. As stated by the Nobel Peace Prize laureate Ray Kwon Chung at the Eastern Economic Forum in 2021. There are causes for this potential disaster, so let's look at them. The increase in the average temperature of the Earth's climate system observed over the course of a century gradually shifts the previously established boundaries of natural zones, and snow-white deserts begin to be covered with a gray carpet. A similar picture is observed in some parts of Siberia, where permafrost turns out to be not so eternal and is gradually thinning, exposing a deadly problem for people: frozen viruses. In fact, pathogenic microorganisms that have been in natural cryopreservation for hundreds and thousands of years, about the properties of which little is known, awaken, bringing with them unpredictable consequences. According to Ray Kwon Chung, in order to protect humanity, scientists must be prepared for unexpected challenges and have rapid response tools in their arsenals. For the first time, the problem of the awakening of prehistoric viruses at the international level was stated in Madrid in December 2019 after the 25th UN Climate Conference. Experts from 12 countries sent an open letter to the World Health Organization. In this message, published for the general public in 2020 in the journal Infection, Genetics and Evolution, it was noted that in recent years there has been an increase in diseases caused by resurrected ancient pathogens among domestic and wild animals of the Russian Arctic. Tick-borne encephalitis, leptospirosis, tularemia, rabies, smallpox, brucellosis, anthrax. This is not yet a complete list of zoonotic, that is, infections occurring in the animal environment that can be transmitted to humans. However, in addition to viruses and bacteria known to scientists, completely new samples of dangerous pathogens may be found in atmospheric air bubbles preserved in ice layers, as well as in the tissues of mummified fossil animals extracted from Siberian burial grounds. In order to avoid terrible epidemics and protect humanity, the researchers called on national governments and international organizations to develop a concept for the study of paleoviruses concentrated in permafrost. The resurrection of viruses, but scientific research on this topic began earlier than the letter to the World Health Organization was compiled. At first, scientists managed to detect the DNA of the smallpox virus in the skin scabs of the mummy of the Egyptian pharaoh Ramses V, aged 3,200 years, and then it was found on the 300-year-old bodies of people found in one of the burial grounds of Yakutia, freed from ice. These pathogens were not viable, but after studying their structure, biologists can recreate the RNA and DNA characteristics of them, returning the virus that had been dormant even for millennia from oblivion. Similarly, in 2005, the virus of the Spanish flu that raged at the beginning of the 20th century was recreated. A year later, French Specialists revived from oblivion a prehistoric pathogen previously unknown to science, which not only penetrated the physical cell, but also wedged into its DNA. Later, it was given the name Phoenix, and the real resurrection of viable ancient viruses occurred in 2014 when a couple of French evolutionary biologists discovered the 30,000-year-old pathogen in this studied sample from the Siberian permafrost, which was named Pithovirus sibericum. This name is no coincidence because according to Greek mythology, it was the Pythos vessel that was presented by Zeus to Pandora, who opened it and flooded the world with disasters, suffering, and diseases. This virus, whose DNA is comparable in size to bacteria, is considered the largest of all viruses known to date, and despite the fact that it infects only microorganisms, scientists are not left with anxiety because of its ability to revive after millennia. It is quite possible that somewhere in the depths of frozen Siberian burial grounds there are pathogens that are already dangerous to humans, which after the permafrost melts will rise up like a phoenix bird and cover the earth with their deadly wing. A year later, another giant virus, Mollivirus sibericum, was identified in the same permafrost specimen. Well, here's a news item from 2021. Russian scientists have announced the launch of a project to study ancient viruses that have been preserved in permafrost layers. Since a horse discovered in 2009 at the territory of the Verkhoyansky district was chosen as the initial object for obtaining biological samples, the animal lived more than 4,450 years ago. It is of great value to science because scientists have managed to fully decipher its genomic sequence. Mammoth, elk, dog, bird, some rodent and small mammal tissues will also be used for the project. All of them are in special freezers in Northeastern Federal University in Yakutsk. It's one of the Russia's 10 federal universities. Scientists emphasize they do not have the goal of reviving ancient viruses. They just want to better investigate pathogens. In addition, the project would allow a more complete understanding of the evolution of viruses and more effective fight against modern pathogens. But, imagine if one of the scientists was not saying the truth. Imagine, here's an idea for a thriller movie, a horror movie. So to repeat, in March 2021, Russian scientists announced the beginning of a systematic research activity in the field of studying ancient viruses preserved in the remains of animals removed from the melted permafrost layer. Experts from the Vector State Scientific Center for Virology and Biotechnology and researchers from the Northeastern Federal University in Yakutsk chose the biomaterial of the 4,450-year-old horse discovered in Verkhoyansky district in 2009 as the first object for analysis. The goal of their activity is not resurrection of polioviruses, but their painstaking study to assess the danger potentially threatening humanity. One of the factors that prompted scientists to address this problem was the outbreak of anthrax recorded in the dry summer of 2016 in the Yamalo-Nenets Autonomous Okrug. And if you see my videos, you will know this territory. During the work, experts found out that the surge of infectious disease occurred due to the melting of ice and the exposure of the ground cover. Deer grazing in this area ate plants smeared with mud, which was infected with pathogenic microorganisms. As a result of the epidemic, over 2,000 animals died, 72 people were hospitalized, of which one child could not be saved. By the way, the high-risk zone includes not only Siberia and the Russian Arctic, but also the permafrost-covered territories of Greenland and Antarctica, as well as Mount found in glaciers. So American scientists who conducted research on the Tibetan Gulya Glacier in a cylindrical ice sample taken 15,000 years, which was 15,000 years old, found a lot of unusual microorganisms. Using an experimental method of molecular biology, experts identified at least 32 viral populations, of which 28 belong to unknown paleoviruses that retain the ability to infect bacteria. Ray Kwon Chang expressed concern that the global warming could wake up ancient viruses that are still sleeping in permafrost and other ice. And this threatens unpredictable consequences for humanity. Infection with diseases unknown to science. It is possible to predict which virus that existed in the prehistoric era. It is impossible to predict. Or hundreds of thousands of years ago may reappear, according to him. They're coming back. He is sure that there are very different types of viruses that we have never encountered before. That's according to the Russian Novosti news agency who quoted the scientist. Well, the statement by Ray Kwon Chang, and I will not recite again his titles, certainly impressed. It quickly spread on the internet, but it would be wrong to consider it a big scientific news, according to the Russians. Gennady Onishchenko once spoke about the threat, as they say, from below, from the melting permafrost in the tundra, even when he was in charge of the Russian agency Rospotrebnadzor. He told about the spores of the pathogen of anthrax, which were found in the carcass of a mammoth discovered on May 15, 2009 in Yakutia, and the floodplain of the Krom River. They were identified in the samples of paleontological material by the Irkutsk Anti-Plague Institute. According to Onishchenko, the mammoth died from anthrax about 32,000 years ago. Permafrost perfectly preserves microbes and viruses because it is cold, dark, and there is no oxygen in it. According to Jean-Michel Claverie, a professor of the University of Marseille, I don't know if I pronounce it right, who revived several viruses extracted from the frozen Siberian soil. And this was, I think, about 2017 when he said it. Permafrost may well hide an infection that caused pandemics in the past. So, the viruses that the professor extracted have been sleeping in permafrost for about the same time as the anthrax spores that killed this mammoth baby, like 30,000 years. The fact that the ice also conceals something completely unknown was recently reported by Chinese and American scientists who discovered 28 viruses unknown to science in that glacier in Tibet. Most of them, 18 species, as it turned out, are not dangerous for humans. But it is not yet known who the remaining 10 can attack. We just don't know enough. By the way, revived ancient viruses, whether from glaciers or permafrost, are scary not only by themselves as infectious agents. Their ability to embed their genetic material into the pathogen, into other pathogens, causing mutations, is also a threat. The consequences of such transformations can indeed lead to the appearance of viruses that we have never encountered before. So this is serious stuff, and of course this is something that we need an oversight over and control. But who's going to do it? I don't have much trust in World Health Organization after the COVID situation, and all we can do is wait and actually pray that permafrost doesn't open up its secrets. I wanted to thank you for your attention to my work, and if you can support my research, you'll find the links in description to this video. Please share my videos. Thank you.